Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you are following us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Give us a 5-star rating. It massively helps us out. Enjoy.
This is a funny story. I don't know if I might have told you, Theo, like a little bit about this in the past. Maybe not though. So I think the viewers, they're going to find this one funny. So my first World Championships was the year before that, 2010 in South Africa. And Edgar Davids was the head judge for this competition.
Sure,
right? So that instantly I can tell what you're thinking, like, surely he won't know how to judge, right?
I know, remember like FIFA 03, he was the guy, but he doesn't really, he's a footballer, not a freestyler. I don't know.
Exactly, man.
He's there as a name, I'm guessing.
You said it. So yeah, he was there as a name. You know, he'd done all those Nike commercials with his hair and the glasses and stuff, you know, like fair play to him. You know, he was a fantastic football player, don't get me wrong. But yeah, he was like the head judge in South Africa. And it was my first time representing the UK going over there. No one really knew me. Like I said, I kind of came out of nowhere. I just competed in that nationals and won it and qualified. Got through the groups. And everyone was like, damn, this guy's going to win the competition. And I was like knocking everyone out in the group, like doing really well. And I ranked number 1 from a group stage going into the top 16. And it was all freestyle judges. And then when it was top 16, because it was all televised around the world with Red Bull, Edgar Davids became the head judge. Shit. And I went against this guy on the stage, a guy from Holland. Edgar's from Holland. The guy was wearing the exact same shirt Edgar was wearing, and it was Edgar's own sports brand. The guy was sponsored by Edgar's sports brand.
Surely this is a bit...
It was crazy, man. So I wiped the floor with the guy. I think I made 1 small drop, and he made like 4 or 5. I did way harder tricks, and it's considered by many as like the biggest robbery in freestyle history.
I want to watch
this. Yeah, I'll send you a link to it. You can check it out. And so I was knocked out of the tournament there. Edgar voted for him.
But what about the other...
Wait, so his say is final in that situation then, or what?
Pardon?
What he says goes? None of the other...
So there was another judge who was a football player, George Weah.
Wow.
He was there, and I think he was just going...
He doesn't know anything about freestyle.
He was just going off Edgar's word.
Yeah.
Because he listened to Edgar. And then there's another freestyle judge, a guy called Chris Nakwana from South Africa, who voted for me. So it was 2-1. And I got out of it. And everyone kicked off a fuss. People were throwing cans onto the stage. The crowd was going crazy. Wow. And it was like we actually had to get physically removed from the stage. It was like kind of nuts.
Holy shit.
Anyway, so it gets worse, right? This is where it gets spicy. So in the after party, I'm just doing my thing. I'm really annoyed because that was my first attempt at achieving my dream. I didn't think I'd ever get a chance again. Yeah. When you're in World Cup for the first time, I'm sure it'd be like the same thing in football. Yeah. Like you don't know if you ever play in a World Cup.
100%.
I felt like I might not ever have a chance again.
And especially that robbed feeling as well when you know you deserved it.
I was devastated, but I was just in the after party in the sort of bar club bit. Edgar comes up to me, and people would come up to him previously throughout the night. I didn't want to talk to him. I didn't want to be anywhere near him. But people would come up to him and said, "Hey, man, I was judging the groups. Could you let me know, like, what were the reasons you voted for this guy, Daniel, over Andrew, and other things like that?" And I think he was getting annoyed by it. So he came up to me and he's like, "Andrew, was it fair?" And I was like, "Was what fair?" And he's like, "Well, was it fair in the battle against the guy?" And I was like, to be honest, man, I don't think it was fair. Like, I explained, like, you know, I didn't drop it. I did more technical tricks. I hit all the criteria, all this stuff. And he was like, ha, 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 no. And I was like, what? You came and asked me, man. Like, and he's like, ha, no. And I was like, man, like, why are you coming up to me if you don't want to hear what I got to say? And he's like, no. He was up here, you were down there. And I was like, man, like, what are you doing? Like, just, like, if you don't want to hear what I've got to say, don't come up and ask me. And then he's like, no, he was up here, you were down there. And he went down, touched the floor, and he was like laughing.
That's a bit disrespectful, is it not?
So I kind of like went off on him, like, and it got really heated. I was just like winding him up about everything, like to the point where I was joking about his glasses, and it got a bit heated. But you know, I was very emotional. I was very young at the time, and he was being a bit aggressive like that. So we were right in each other's face, and it was going to go down, but security and stuff got in the way. Anyway, so I thought that, okay, that's the last time I might see Davids ever again. After I won the World Championships in Malaysia a year and a half later, the month after that, I got invited to judge the Bulgarian National Championships. So I go over there, and I'm the head judge.
You're the main man now.
I'm the main man because I just won the Worlds. Edgar's the side judge with me. It's kind of crazy, right? So he's there, and he's like, and the organizers they come to me and they say, okay, Edgar Davids has just arrived. We're gonna set you guys up in a cafe, like just so you can get to know him and talk. And I'm like thinking like so you can meet him, and I'm like thinking, do I say that I've already met him? And I'm
Surely
just like, nah, be professional.
Surely he
Andrew,
would
just turn up. So of course he does.
Yeah, he would.
And
He's just saying that people.
And people were winding him up the whole night as well about it.
He would remember
other
that.
freestyles going on. After that kicked off, people were definitely reminded him of it, and like he wouldn't forget that. No way. Like not with the intensity of it all. Anyway, so we're sat in the cafe, and he comes up to me and he goes to shake my hand. But just for the reference of the story, like the other judge was like a kind of breakdancer guy.
Yeah, not far off.
Yeah. And he comes up, Edgar comes up to me and he's like, nice to meet you. You're the breakdancer judge, right? And I'm like, nah, you know who I am. I was the guy that you voted against wrongly in South Africa a year and a half ago. And we had an argument in the club about it, and you know exactly who I am. Just like that. And he was like, oh, okay. And then we sat down, and we sat down at a table about a third of this size, one of those tiny little bars, like the
silent
silver tables. And he's got this yes woman with him, and it's just us three sitting on this tiny table. I'm sat like closer than we're sat with him, you know. And he's just there, and we're talking. He's like, "Yeah, what happened about that competition? Like I saw this other competition." And I'm like, "Yeah, no, that's the one I won." He's like, "Oh, you won," and he's like going off. And then he just stands up, and a woman from Red Bull just comes up to him and says, "Hey, Andrew, can I get you a drink?" I don't know what I said, maybe yes or no. Thanks. And then he goes, "Edgar, can I get you anything?" He's like, "If I want something, I'll tell you, you know."
Really?
And she was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And he's like, "Yeah." And it's like crazy.
So he's rattled.
That's just his personality.
Oh, really?
That's just his personality.
Oh, I thought just like your mere presence is just
Nah. It's not my presence. It's his personality, man. I tell you, like that's the kind of guy.
You know what? It actually, because I've told a story about him before at the Champions League final. Do you remember? And I called him Edgar or whatever.
I want to hear this, man. I have time to hear Edgar stories.
Because it was.
I've heard loads.
Because he has a quality like
really? Edgar Davids stories to me all the time.
I told you this because
no, it's
we
been
were in the. I don't want to shit all over him. He's probably a nice fellow to whatever, but we were in the village, and he was walking. I went up to said, "Oh, Edgar, nice to meet you. Can I get a photo?" And he stops walking, and looks at me in the face and goes, "No."
Oh, yeah.
And I go,
I remember that. He shut you down.
But it's like,
goodbye.
You know, like, who were you with 2 weeks ago? Like Neymar Jr., like Mbappe. Yeah. You see how nice they are, how friendly they are.
Why?
And you think they're just like normal guys when you're with them. You know, obviously they're not. They're amazing, like, you know, in every aspect, like the football.
But they are icons, just normal humans.
Yeah, exactly. But Edgar, a guy that's kind of like getting on, sort of like becoming a bit of a has-been, you know, in football, you know, but obviously he was great, but like for him to do that, it's just there's never an excuse to do that.
But have you had any other notably bad experiences with footballers? Because you work with pretty much the entire
most people
industry.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. Like,
it's just that one example.
That's why I asked, because obviously we've worked with plenty of footballers ourselves, and I could probably only name like one off the top of my head.
Yeah, everyone's really nice to work with. Like, I get on really well with everyone. Yeah, that Edgar Davids situation was kind of crazy. It kind of ended in that situation. We were there in.
How was judging in the end?
It was very funny. We got some funny stories about that with Edgar. But when we're in the bar there, like he, what did he say? He said when he started admitting that he knew about South Africa.
Nice to meet you, mate.
He stood up next to me and he goes, I would have knocked this guy out. I would have knocked this guy out.
What, physically or
he said it to me? No, punch me. Like
that's what I mean. Yeah. Oh wow.
Out. He like when we had the confrontation in the club.
Yeah.
He was talking about that. He was like, "Yeah, man, I was this close to knocking this guy," and like no one around cared. But like he was just like, there was like 5 people in the place, and he stood up and made a scene. And I'm just like, I'm sat there. And I'm just listening to him, and he said it about 5 times. I would knock this guy, and he stood up right next to me, like this close. And then
So
he
why
sat.
is he so like?
Then he sat down, and I just went up to him really close, and I just whispered, "I'm sitting 6 inches away from you. If you want to knock me out, then go for it."
Yeah.
And he just stopped.
Really?
I just
That
it
was the
just
end of
always
it,
seems
yeah.
a bit. He can't be. I don't know. Maybe he's just not happy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or there's that ego. I don't know. It's a bit of, but
But we're cool now, me and Edgar. Ish, you know, like
Have you
if
done
I saw
anything-
him, I'd be fine with him because at the end of the judging, we judged together, and he was asking for things and whatever, and I was winding him up a bit because he was on his phone quite a bit whilst judging. I thought I was a bit disrespectful, and I started clapping when someone did a good trick, for example, and I realized he started just copying my claps. So I would clap. I'd clap in between rounds when people weren't doing anything. I'd go, and he would go, and then I'd half clap, and I'd be like, and he would go.
do you think it was a
And
case
it
of?
was just I was just playing
On
back. So I
strings.
kind of we've moved on from then. I won more championships. I won 5. You know, he's not judged again since then. So
Do you think it was a case of like
I'm all good with him.
he
Yeah.
treated you as nothing when you hadn't won, but as soon as you won, it was more of like a oh shit, or not?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think honestly, it was because I put him in his place a bit when I said
Yeah.
that
Not
to
used
him
to
when I
it.
whispered to him. I think that was it. I
But-
think after then he was like, "Oh, this guy actually isn't intimidated by me at all."